This is the long version. What follows is a laboratory shown one frame at a time. Each frame carries a question in plain words, the command that answers it, and the output that command actually printed. Nothing in it asks you to accept a summary. You are being handed the receipts. And this is what stands behind that sentence. Every claim in that document ships with the specific change that would break it. On screen is one of them. Alter an update equation in the way it names, and a named gate stops holding. It tells you where to put the crowbar. That is what this work is for, whole and unsoftened. Nothing has been trimmed off it to make it easier to say out loud. The amber rail and the header are the point. None of that frame was measured, and none of it is offered as a finding. It is where the instruments are pointed. Not one figure in this film was typed. Each is an expression run against a real file at the moment the frame was built. The line on screen is that register reporting how many expressions it carries and how many failed to resolve. Run it after you clone and compare. The film is treated the way it treats everything else. This check forbids a list of words, rereads every quoted line range and hashes it again, and rederives each figure from the file it came from. The second count on that line is deliberate sabotage it was required to catch. 5 bodies, a colony that acts inside a world, a producer that would direct a broadcast, a laboratory that models a bacterial motor, a control plane that records what the others did, and a public record. They are kept apart on purpose. Each one is about to be shown in its own source. Body 1 is a colony acting inside a world. This is its boundary, in the file that enforces it. Senses go in on one line. One action comes back, and the code puts the word only in capitals. The brain never sees raw world state. The body never sees beliefs. Body 2 would direct a broadcast, which shot, which cut, when to hold, read what it runs on. Expected free energy minimization. No scripted rules, no reward. The thing that would point the camera runs the same mathematics as the thing it would broadcast. That is the sentence on screen, not a summary of it. Both of those bodies run one engine, and this is its dependency list. Nothing between the brackets. It declares 0 hex dependencies. That is not offered here as a virtue. It is what makes the no-language model claim checkable in one command instead of by trust, because there is no library an inference call could hide inside. Body 4 records what the other 4 did, including what they got wrong. Every entry names the hash of the entry before it. The command counted 32 entries, no broken links, and an anchor whose declared length and head match the chain it anchors. Watch the next frame before you carry that agreement anywhere. 2 things get called live, and they are not the same. One means a surface rereading a file on disk the moment you ask. The other means something on the air. The next 2 frames separate them with commands. Here is what reading disk looks like. This command ran while these frames were being made, and it reports the film's own render code sitting edited, with captures not yet committed. Nobody tidied the tree before filming it. Read the lines. The other sense of live. A program here attempts to broadcast, deliberately, down every path this codebase offers, and writes down what stopped it. The last line is its result. The lines above it say what that binding covers and what it leaves open. Now the engine, a system that chooses actions, is usually pointed at a number to push upward. This one states otherwise in its own module documentation, and the line is on screen with its file, its line number and its digest. Go and check it. And here is the search behind that sentence. It reads the brain for the word reward and prints what it finds. A short list of comment lines comes back. They are on screen, whole, and nobody has summarized them for you. This is how it chooses instead. It rolls its beliefs forward and scores expected free energy over the futures it expects to hold. The same paragraph draws the fence. This is planning, and it is not the other thing. Both halves are on screen together. And this is the boundary between brain and body. In theoretical biology it is called a Markov blanket. Here it is a pipe. Senses go in as one text line, one action atom comes back, and exactly 2 message kinds ever cross it. Every claim this project draws carries one word from this list. There are 6 of them. What is on screen is not a summary. It is that line of the module that enforces it, with the file, the line number, and the digest of those bytes. 6 classes, 5 materials. There are fewer materials than classes, so a surface cannot be read backwards to the class behind it. And the last clause is on screen with the rest. Anything unreadable falls to fog, never to a default. 5 words, and no percentage anywhere in the schema. A score can be averaged until a failure disappears into it. These cannot. The description on screen defines the least comfortable of them: a claim withdrawn, and a gate registered but never run. The law here is narrow. A check may exit 0 only if it also printed the word pass, and the runner asserts that over every gate it run. The line at the foot asks a different question of the same registry. Its answer is there too. Every concept in this registry names a file and a line. This check opens each one. It ran with its mutation suite, which breaks the registry on purpose and requires the check to notice. What it cannot settle is whether an anchor is the right anchor. This packs the evidence, ships it, unpacks it, then forges it on purpose to see whether the forgery is refused. The note under the frame names what that is worth: tamper evident, and not unforgeable. The count of independent custodians is beside it. This next stretch is not a disclaimer reel at the end of a pitch. It is the part of the film the rest of the film is for. Every fact in it gets its own frame, its own command and its own output, at the same size as everything you have already been shown. A program here attempts to broadcast, deliberately, down every route this code base has and records what refuses it. The count of routes and the count it is allowed down are both under the frame. The last line the program printed is its own limit, not its own strength. This is the sharpest number in the film, and it is put on screen without a sentence wrapped around it. Of the gates this project registers, that many appear in its canonical evidence record. The rest do not appear in it at all. The instrument recomputes both counts every time it is asked. A record only its author can vouch for is worth less than one a stranger can check. This counts the parties outside this machine that corroborate the evidence here. The box that was meant to be the second domain answers the writer's own key, so no custodian sits anywhere the writer cannot reach. The pack survives a round trip and a tampered one is refused. The same run records the case it cannot catch, edit the payload, recompute the manifest and the tag manifest, and the forgery verifies clean. The gate says that itself, at the foot of its own passing output. This is the check that would graduate the colony's forage claim. The command opens its runner, finds the first raise, prints the line number it sits on and the block that follows. It does not run the check. There is nothing in there yet to run. The strongest result here reaches held out duration prediction and stops. 5 levels above it are named in the same string and marked untouched, in either direction. That clause is doing real work. Untouched is not weak support. It is no evidence at all, for or against. Each identifier on screen names a thing this project states it does not do, carried in the document that collects them. The count under the frame is for 1 repository out of 3. The document says that about itself, and records the omission as one of its own limitations. That is the honest position, and it is the last thing this movement says. There is also no register of scientific verdicts anywhere in this estate to count, so this is the one figure in the film that is declared rather than measured. The missing instrument is the harder finding. The method behind this laboratory is written down, not as a paper, but as an encyclopedia and a cookbook, a circumflex euros chapters, recipes and a lexicon, in a repository of their own. The next frames count it, quote it, and then say plainly what stands between that corpus and you. 79 chapters, 130 concepts in the lexicon, across 8 registered domains. Not one of those figures is typed into this film. On screen is the tail of the run that resolved every number you will hear. Its first 3 lines are corpus counts, and its last is how many figures the register resolved without failing. This is how the corpus opens, not with a result, but with the kitchen, the governance discipline, the pantry, and the fence vocabulary that binds every recipe. Read this before you cook anything. Under the frame is the file, the line range, and a digest recomputed from those bytes as the frame was made. The mission clause says free and open. Here is where the corpus stands against it today. 0 files tracked in that repository match a license or a copying notice, and its own exposure document opens with the words on screen. It is not public, and that part is the operator's statement rather than something this frame counts. 4 ways in. Watch the work on its own surface. Ask a question, a circumflex euros it lands in an append-only file under version control. Try to break something, or take a piece of work. The third door is where the rest of this chapter goes. Nothing here needs an account or permission. This one reads the published site and prints its floors. It also printed an amendment. A page was withdrawn because its bytes were not in the committed cited, so the floor was lowered rather than the fence weakened. Every command in this film runs on a clone. This one holds each published page against the committed names, then says what it cannot reach from inside that clone. If yours prints something else, that difference is the most useful thing anyone could send back. The fourth door, this check computes contrast, reads structure, then names what it cannot measure a circumflex euros whether the words land for a frightened reader. That part is a person's. So are the 2 steps in the plan that no agent, and no stranger, may take. The close opens with the list of things the project says it cannot do, 9 of them today, each generated from an annotation in the source and diffed by a gate, so the page cannot drift away from the code it describes. The mission again, in the same words as before, on the same amber rail that marks it as intent. Nothing on this frame was measured. It is stated here so that the next frame lands against it rather than instead of it. What it is honestly worth today, quoted from the project's governing file with its line range and digest. No verdict has yet been authored about a real scientific claim. No register of verdicts exists to count from, so that is a declaration, not a measurement. The last frame is a command rather than a logo. That one remeasures every number this film renders. Run it after you clone. If your output disagrees with what you have just watched, the film is wrong, and we would want the receipt.